Around here, them guns get the last word.
Without a doubt, Tekken 7 is one of the best selling and most successful fighting games of all time. You'll have to start talking about Smash and Nintendo in order to find something that's better or something that can rival it. Harada said many years ago, when Tekken 7 first released, within 3 months, they made all of their budget back. Yes, they invested some more into DLC. Harada said it cost about $500,000 to make a character. You can see that they sunk more resources into it. But the fact that the DLC was so successful that they added so much more changes the way you view Tekken 7. Harada was talking to Markman in a recent Harada's Bar interview, and the two of them said,
because it's very easy for the community to complain about things like balance or things like where the game's at and content for the game.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that balance is not just about the competitive side. It's about sales. It's also about bringing in new people.
It's very interesting when you compare everything that happened with Tekken 7 and you think about how that's going to affect Tekken 8. Even if we think about the heat system and all of the things that Harada is saying right now, it reasserts what we heard in the past. He wants to make Tekken 7 more exciting, more of a spectacle. All of this will factor into the sales. I have a tweet here from Maximilians that responds to Harada when he announced over 10 million copies sold and also a record of 54 million copies sold. I feel the impact of the number might be lost on some. 10 million is an astronomical figure for this genre, held only by two groundbreaking past titles like Street Fighter 2 and modern games like MK and Smash. One key distinction with Street Fighter 2 and some of the old Mortal Kombat games is DLC. All of that stuff really is what set Tekken 7 above and beyond in terms of profit. I went back and I looked at the interview that Harada did with IGN. I was looking through it for some details about characters, Heihachi, things of that sort. But at the very end of the news article, there's 3 paragraphs. And I think these 3 paragraphs is by far more important than anything else in the whole entire news article. And this is what I want to talk about today. Get ready for the next battle. Obviously, Tekken 8 still has a ways to go in the development process. And while this trailer answers some of our questions, it raised others. We may have to wait for answers, but what's clear is Harada's passion and love for the franchise. If you're worried that June's appearance means that Harada isn't thinking about throwing her son or anyone else into a volcano, think again. And then it has a quote. The first people to come to mind were perhaps certain executives at our company, Harada says. They change quite frequently, and some of them are only interested in obtaining the highest profit possible to further their careers, and they have no regard for development, schedules, or branch timelines. So some of them quickly flashed into my head, but if I had to think and I had to pick a Tekken character, it's tough because most of them probably survive if we look at past instances. Even though Harada is making a joke here about throwing the executives off of a mountain because of the pressure they apply on the studio, this is actually quite alarming, because the reason why I spent the intro of this video talking about Tekken 7 and how profitable it is, and it was, is because they're going to want to reach that same level of success with Tekken 8. We saw time and time again, if you guys watch these interviews, if you watch the recap, and you hear the way that Michael Murray and Harada talk about Tekken 8, they always bring up the fact of how it's so expensive. Making all these characters from scratch, expensive. Making the stages, expensive. Story, everything that they talk about, they always cap it off with expensive. And in the world of business, all that money you put into a stage, to a character, it's basically an investment. And all of these executives, just like Harada is saying here, and some of them are only interested in obtaining the highest profit possible to further their careers. Right now, Bandai Namco is investing a lot into Tekken 8. We don't have a figure, we don't have a number, but I would assume it's probably triple, double, maybe even quadruple what Tekken 7 is. And Tekken 7 by itself was already an expensive Tekken game, using Unreal Engine 4 and all the things that they tried to accomplish, right? DLC and whatnot. But Tekken 8 is probably 3 times as expensive. And what that means is they are going to want 3 times the profit. I'm not really like upset or angry because I understand it's a business, you know, they have to grow, they have to succeed, and I want them to succeed. But my only worry is I don't want them to lose themselves. We see so often where a company, they get so caught up in profit margin, so caught up in making a return, we see them start being very, very greedy. I mean, if you look across the gaming industry, there's so many different franchises that does this. There's a third paragraph here where Harada is talking about which character he would actually throw into a volcano. He basically says Jin is the character he would choose to throw into a volcano, and the exact quote, it says, to be a better version of himself. So I like this and the importance that it has to the story, but I found a different paragraph. This one is from 2017, back when it first sold 2 million copies. We still fight to overcome the shadow of Street Fighter, the legendary game that started the genre, and also fight to surpass the specter of Virtual Fighter, another legendary series with many fans who love it. Harada said, in reality, even though it is a versus fighting game, the majority of the audience are casual players who aren't trying to be the best in the world, but are just satisfied to beat a certain rival, perhaps just a friend next to them. I do think that Tekken 8 right now is kind of in the shadow of Street Fighter 6. Their marketing, their game, it looks brighter, louder, more visual. And we really haven't seen that much of Tekken 8, but I think this time around, those two fighting against each other is really going to be a battle. Street Fighter 6 is nothing like Street Fighter 5, right? But also when you talk about the casual players, even though I'm not a casual, I still resonate with this second sentence. I'm not trying to be the best. I'm more so just trying to have fun, and I want to learn the game to a certain extent, but I still like that mystery and that wow factor to be there. A lot of things to take away in this news article. You can see here how Harada is not only trying to be very competitive with Street Fighter. In terms of 3D fighting games, Tekken is definitely the superior one now, but it really comes down to Street Fighter versus Tekken. Like Harada said in the middle paragraph, the executives at Bandai Namco and really a lot of these companies, they really don't care about the franchises themselves. They only care about the profits because the profits boost their portfolios. Even taking all of the microtransactions and how expensive Tekken 8 is, even taking all that stuff into consideration, I still am hyped. I'm looking forward to Tekken 8 because I believe in Harada. I believe in Michael Murray. You can see here, even with this quote, where he's acknowledging the pressure of the executives. You can see just even with his wording how he's not really succumbing to that. He still wants Tekken 8 to be his own vision, his own game, and he still wants the players to be able to enjoy. I just want to talk about this because I think it is going to play a big role in how Tekken 8 pans out, because it already did for Tekken 7. But I do want to say thank you everyone for watching. The support is never lost on me. It's never taken for granted. So I just say thank you to everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and bye bye.